땅아서 토마텔라니 가르레 고드나 나르서 토마 로아스제 타운제 기도는 산지지 공부터 봐쇼 제네 나가서 아마가저디 티자고요레스.
So in the beginning, usually what we do is we recite a prayer where we make the wish to, or the aspiration to achieve enlightenment for the sake of all sentient beings.
다 로아스제 타운제 기도는 산지지 공부터 봐쇼 제네 말자 차차 데데나 산지 타토 말레스.
But by just folding the hands like this and saying the prayer, "Oh, may I achieve Buddhahood for the sake of all sentient beings," we won't achieve that goal.
다 아니 가서 상지 고요래 상지 탑로비 아니 다자 돈바 코롱게 도모 냠레체 라 도모 코로고 냠슬레 데니 냠슬레니 코로고 저 도바지 데니 상지니 다 쳐서 인들이 제쇼딘 상지 더 넣으시니 아니 상지 가서 말로지네요 송여레스.
So what the Buddha himself did, was an ordinary being before, and he engaged in, all these practices, and eventually he attained enlightenment, and then he started out to teach and, teach us.
다 안에 산지가 나솔 가르송이랬으나 아니 니는 타바첼라라 리송이 가르라나 타바 산지 산도사가 랑가 총마든가 줄어서는 마시요스. 다 랑가티는 저도 만도 아니 줄어서 따고레스 줄어서 라발이요레스 어디 송이요레스.
And what the Buddha also said is that he has achieved enlightenment, and he can teach us to do so. He can teach us the path to achieve liberation ourselves as well. He can't do it for us. He can teach us the path to achieve that goal.
다 아니 저서 산지산들이 또 들립니다.
Do you want to achieve Buddhahood?
dream just someone dream.
Do you like to go that place, as it were?
당아서 산지산들이 있는데 약을 대대나 산지사 태만다라. 산지산들이 있는데 약을 대대나 산지사 태토 말했어.
But basically staying put in India, we won't reach that place of Buddhahood, as it were.
예마 다졌던 바 약간의 산지들라 디노제 맞아 약간의 지지나 산지 터레스.
But maybe it is possible because Buddha himself, he attained enlightenment in India.
네, 다 다졌던 바 기야 산지티 아니 칼리카체 조연도 저서 지지나 다졌던 바가 로지도 넘들라 아니 따뉴에 지레스. 네, 다졌던 바가 칼리카체 정도 디하고 요레스.
Maybe you all have had a look already, into Buddha's life story, how many hardships he had to undergo, in order to achieve his goal of enlightenment, or liberation.
당아서 다졌던 바가 칼리죠 노시지 가서 저고요 말했어. 일인조봉 가서 산지 터레라다. 다졌던 바가 칼리지죠요라. 산지와라 칼리시마시죠요라. 디노제방 가서 저고래라나. 가서 딘디노제스 저고요 말했어.
고고요 말해.
딘디노제 저고 말해.
But it's not the case that we have to engage in all these hardships that the Buddha engaged in to achieve that goal. Do you know why, or what's the reason for the fact that we don't need to make that much effort or work that hard as the Buddha himself did?
나소이 드니칼리 마잖아 산지 지사마레 사나티 마레스 다자토마가 나소 손지 사게 랑가도 토마 서도 된게 걸어와 데데 토마 서도 된게 들 칼리요레스 디 니바 지슨도게 데스 칼리요 마레스.
Yeah, there are all these, when we look into the history or the life story of the Buddha, we know that, he practiced so many years of austerities. But he was the first one who kind of, attained enlightenment and then showed us the way. But because he was the first one, he had to work really hard for it. And those of us, who follow him, we don't have to do that great of hardships.
Pena dilini de dharamsala ya yung kapsula, Toma ya yung kete lafsaga zoni yonguyora. Kali kamena me jone koso likalo dochmotso payi chikono zambatsi kali kamena me jone leyore. Tangaso te kali jage mar motan hier. Stechin leyo otino jibela.
It's you can imagine, for example, people who came from Delhi up to Dharamsala, say for the first time, where there were no roads and all these things. First roads needed to be built and this and that, and so people had to, the first people had to go undergo really quite a bit of hardships, quite a few hardships. Whereas we now just go by car or by bus, along the road. It's much easier for us.
아니 다쳤던바가 다 든리지네 토마스 또비카슬라 카테장게 주로 뭐도비 던바 트릭라서 봐 베키파 몸보그테 다쳤던바면 카테장 딘딩 마레스니 백간 가바진네 몸보여레스 저러 딘딩 마레 딘딩 마레스니 버치치게 몸보여레스 땅 가솔라 다쳤던바가 딘딩디레데 처음 가솔라 마스테스티 가솔라 딘디 버치치게 요 마레 토마스던 조아노제 칼리 조고 마레 티디 가솔 찌퍼치니 르르치니 산지터레.
So when at Buddha's time, he had quite a few people opposing him, of other traditions or other viewpoints who kind of created a lot of obstacles. But for us, everything is kind of like nicely set up already now, and Geshe-la says, we rather can achieve enlightenment in a relaxed manner. You don't have these obstacles anymore as such.
다 저번에 산지레스는 칼라자 저번에 시탄 들리지는 되는 산지레라나 대오지 말했어.
But it is not to say that we can just relax and take it easy, have good food, and be happy, and by doing this achieve enlightenment. That's also not true.
다 대랑 가서 가르거래나 지라만 성가 받지 뭐 가르성이라는 동보자치 좁아 몬드도. 버터 줄루 담제 덤버시. 담아 인생근데 녀수 농세지. 때 가르성이라나 토말라 아니 라마 기리시니 그게산이다 산지게 종류도 뭐뭐 녀고요레스.
So what we need to do is initially, to study with our teacher and hear a lot about the teachings. So that's initially what we do. We have to do a lot.
되는 젠다논도니 차와요나 졸로동 아니 나지 도머레나 차로동 아니 대야부죠 헬레치니 소소헬레치니 아니 게스산이 소소가 아니 좀몽부 녀고요레스.
Yes, we need to listen, in a relaxed way, with a happy state of mind, and when it's cold outside, we dress up warmly or have a heater on. If it's hot, we put the fan on, whatnot. So we kind of can create kind of relatively comfortable conditions, and but by doing so, need to engage in studying and hearing the teachings.
산지 저지 거스가 아니 라마서 니 차차나 졸로동 요마레 차나 차로동 요마레 콤바 요마레 셰동올로 드리지니 걸리겨고다 나서 드리고마 고마는 저버지 데테 장통 전부 헬리지니 초여레.
So the first students of the Buddha, they had no fans or let alone AC or or heaters. They just sat outside under a tree. We look, we have much better conditions. We can have tea and listen to the teaching.
대체서 가서 뒤니에 가서 녀라 시다 걸리겨고무다. 녀마 산지 요이고 그 주년게도 뒤송 가서 주년게도 지나 뒤서 주년게도 갈리면도 저번도 헬리지니 초도.
Yeah, so compared to all these, people before in the early years, we have much better conditions to study, right?
다 가서 드리지니 헬리지니 녀로와 다 주모부 녀산이 다 녀와 집부가 배라나 되고 배 말했어. 드니 수소가 아니 게게가 마셔바티 수소가 송동고요레스.
But only engaging in studies, that's not enough. We need to listen a lot to the teachings, but then we have to continue. We have to contemplate these teachings.
다 송로몽보 돈이 다 그게 셰바도 수소가 송로 돈이부터 알아야보 진체 차야보 지레더니 강고요레스.
Yeah, so we need to contemplate and think a lot about what we've heard from our teachers, and then eventually, meditate and familiarize ourselves with what we have heard and studied.
다 강고지테라 동보 강자 당에라 동보 투 로아 데니 소소가 삼 아니 삼바데니 강 아니 투 삼강서 야마트치니 아니 가서 냐올레 제바이나 치치리치러 아니 사지지 공부 토토아가 거라데 요레스.
So we are in a fortunate position. We have the possibility, at least, to engage in studying, contemplating, and practicing or meditating, and doing this all together. That's why you often hear Samgom, hearing or studying, contemplating and meditating, doing all these things together, and then engaging in our practice. we have the potential, the possibility to achieve enlightenment in one lifetime.
다 대인에 가서 도모 들이 도모들 가서 감격 아니도 수지 따느라 감격 도모들 감지자이나 근데서 아버지라고
Oh, maybe I'm thinking it's good to do some meditation now at the beginning.
다 감자서야 들었더니 지 루몽부지래 난다 강고도 사 대대안에 빠탈 무빠체 되는 용 뒤도 설려라 말레니 파셔는게로 더 먹어서 되는게도 설려라 렌데게로 든디지요래라 도마 강게이나 고 도마 장글에 든디 용구요래스
But yeah, so for a beginner meditator, it's often the case that when we want to focus on a particular object, we easily lose it. Or if we think not to get distracted by this and that, but we then do get distracted by certain things.
시바데 가르레스네 캔서 쇼시요신도 그 독초도 레딩이노 싫어 맞아 동보 마ጆ고나 독초도 레딩이노 용기야도 마요 용무기야도 용되기로 디선노도 용요서레스 디디 되는가 동아서 동보니 딜러 삼서지고 요레스
Yeah, in the beginning when we engage in meditation, we have to be careful because the mind is very strange. It always kind of does the opposite of what we actually want. You know, if we want to focus on something, we easily forget it, or we don't want to think about something, but we do think about it. You all probably like pizza or have already eaten pizza ever in life before, right?
Pizza zanyola, pizza la gabiora.
Yeah, have you eaten pizza? Do you like
pizza? Tangasara, that pizza the mago, chun sol masha. Ra. Then it member Zemba Suzukara solo to you and a tanda. Pizza the other chun is holy shamachi paka. And it's Zemba Kara take you and a take dani, got the take that.
Yeah, you can check it out for yourself, when we try to not think about pizza, but we are allowed to, to think about anything else under the sun. Yeah, and try not to think about pizza, but about anything else, say, anything else we'd like to eat or what doesn't matter. Try to think like that.
Sala pizza the share degudo jembachi karishigudo lada. Pizza the slay degudo lada.
Does the pizza appear in your mind or something else?
Pizza maji magal sana kotsle deres.
Often it's the case that, if we think, I don't want to think about pizza now, but it nevertheless appears.
Legdo so the pizza the pizza magam solo matre. Jembakar tena te sa dedena pizza the legdo lada.
Is it the case that when we think, when we try not to think about pizza but about anything else, isn't it the case that the pizza still appears?
Legdo, sanota.
Yeah.
Sanota na yungwarani. Tombo sanota. Pizza maimba kala jembachi. Jin nyonda jimumbo chela chizajiya. Chisa toto chisanda. Karazare.
Pizza da nyonda?
Pizza maimba jiwa ti borotin nyonda la nyonda je. Pale ti nyonda pezeta.
Oh no, like a sandwich.
Tita sanota pizza the mazo tita sanota andila.
You could, instead of thinking about pizza, you could think about sandwich or whatever, but what does appear in the mind is often the pizza. I can't think about this bread, I think about pizza.
어디지야 이나 때려지라. 당아서라 다 용조 피자도 가서 피자도 쓰송로 동안도 용도도 오로지 말했어. 피자자 송로 동안도 용 서지 젬바질래 데레스. 어디지 다 저서 용도 동다라. 용도 동다 가디 용도. 드니 당아서 거쳐서 더 가를 가서 저저 당아서 셈바 템부서 거디 무발에 쳐봐요 말했지도 저서 가를 먹어봐이나 가를 가봐이나 아니 지금 미동다 가운데 용나 라마동 하동 성지동 또 가를 송로 동이나 배나 모치야도 땅에서 농바이도 나자tomba 하거라. 나자tomba 나지 가바이나 토마니 펠리푸 차소도 솔로마토니. 다 어디 오여랑고. 우지고 더 솔로토니 대감쇼라다. 텔라 솔로토니 텔라다.
Kanda. So now, what's often done in Buddhist meditation, there are all sorts of objects we can choose. It's up to oneself which object one chooses, whether a flower or anything else really. But oftentimes, it's the image of a Buddha that's chosen to meditate on. But as a beginner meditator, it's often also advised not to try to visualize the whole image, but just say starting with the head of the Buddha, and we should try to visualize that.
아니 당가서 토모 거 토모 저이나 다저서 저도 감차 몸본도잖아 개요 말에 그래서 리 토모 감케이나 제렘 붙이니 가요 말에스 그마 톰보 그마 치니삼 되니 칼리 제렘 토마토 톰보니 페 제렘 가와이나 세 타탈레 토마레스 디디 타타용 말에 토모 리 토모이나 셈바템보 메나 아니 치지 그마 치니 드니 파레니 레리레리 동고요레스
And it's also often advised that, especially as a beginner meditator, that if our minds are not so able to focus yet very well on an object, is to focus on an object, just say starting with a minute or so, and then slowly extend the time period. Because if you were right from the start with longer periods of time, it will probably turn out very well. So it's always good in the beginning to just start with a minute or short time.
아니 베나 상기가 끝나지 가봐이나 토모 다 리부 차소 르르 셔터고 말했어. 이 셔터나 아니 노톤다면 몸볼레디 토모니 리부 차소 셔터요 말했어.
Yeah, so in the beginning, often it's also very difficult to, if you wanted to meditate on the image of a Buddha, to visualize the whole body of the Buddha, because also it easily creates thoughts, distractions.
디리 때문에 가서 어디 고 찌포 마도 젬바 차소도 소모 마도는 어찌포 더 소모톤이 가없어.
Yeah, that's why it's good to start with just meditating on the head first.
다티 어디 소소고 소모토 티페 무스가 무근 통하는 제페 세번 마셔지 버터 틸라 무파마도 무파 가사칼 지야요 말했어. 무파치 tombo네 올라 소모토사나 소소고 tom보 올라 소모토아이나 어디 소소고 흥엘인데 무근 통하는 제가 세번 마셔지 버터 아니 무파 지야요 말했어.
And it's explained that we shouldn't change the object of the meditation unless it really appears clearly. So as if we were to see it directly in front of our eyes. So if we start with the Buddha, the head of the Buddha, we should meditate for that long until it really appears clearly in our minds.
다티 서버 샤오디 드니 리부젠바 아니 칼리 치리 드니 리부차소 어디니 진에 서버마 샤르지 바드니 거고에레스 보람지 감비롬바.
Yeah, and once the head appears clearly, then we can slowly extend, and then meditate or visualize the whole body of the Buddha.
다티 감디 용아서 드리지 감 소니 마고 노니지 거 지니 마고 드리지니 레몬다오 제거나 페토지요 말이지. 이치데 다 다와지 거 니마 제거 덴다지 드리거나요 페토요. 고제니 지rembo 지거나마토 카트카트 디용토 말이지.
And also we will not achieve any good results out of meditations if you just do it for a day and then leave it for a while and then start again a little bit and so on. We have to meditate continuously, then we'll achieve results.
나서 용고는들이 비교를 나서 신들이 자식들을 신들이 던 잡아차는 미벌고도 들이 미버다 신들이 던 잡을래디 아니 배번에 시침부 버더니 되나마도 그 잡아차는 요샤 요때서 잡아차는 요샤나 밀레도 말아 어디노지 이래서 강도 그 전터니마 서버 마셔지부터 강거라면서 대에서 강샤 요때서 강 요샤 되지나 다시 니네 요 니소저 용대신 니소저는 미여면도 집어지 주래서.
Yeah, it's like rubbing two pieces of wood against each other, right? If you want to have some fire, we have to do it consistently. We can't do it just a while, short bit, and then rest and then do it again for a bit and rest. It doesn't work really. There wouldn't come any fire. So it's the same with meditation. We have to, do it consistently, and then we achieve results.
다 gombi yerta ngaso 저서 다 돈바크 건안리레 때문에 소소그 그게 또 라마도 되니 지 되미나요 지 다르라 콘트 농카도 미도도 데카랄 건나 돈보니 무바치도 야부치고래 당가서 있는 산지크도 라미크도 도셔 야셰스로 아니 저러선 도바카리나 티그 무바티 인치미지 돈보니 치도 야부치지 달라 셈바테니 아니 텔라서 마셰지 파트 짐발마 마치니 티무바도 손노토고레 티무피여트레스
So meto yamina namka yang.
메토 남카 아니지 마소치 사자 고유들이 소마들이 앞서 솔로도는 리데레 되니 라마라 솔로도는 리데레 산질은 솔로도는 리데레 다 지제 드라마도 수소가 수소로 카르라 도바요나티 타타코틴 루레스.
Yeah, so but what the object of meditation is concerned is up to us. It's our choice. We can meditate on the sky or pick a flower. We can take our teacher, meditate, spiritual teacher, the Buddha or Tara.
Or pizza.
For that matter, yeah. But yeah, we have to choose our object well and then stick with it as basically.
다때 무바다 소소가 야부지 솔로도 되니 gombi 세지라. 디다 가서 저다지나 남견다 거 니마치바 티 증저 세리. 니마치를 텐지 테트니. 이나 나보도 본다니 보다 아니 검자서 약셔들에서 나무 다치 나바트 바지바 야로니 아니 ዝ포토마 티미요로 티티카마 야부치요레스 본다 미킨티세네 본다 타니마 말라네 사로 딘르살로 다 조카도 본다니 보데 고토나 야부요레스.
I mean, there are various ways we kind of go about it. We can have different sessions, 4, 5, 6 sessions throughout the day. But generally speaking, it's so the best times for meditation are the early morning hours, say 4, 5, or 6 o'clock in the morning, and then after dark, before we go to bed. These are generally speaking the best times for meditation, or in the morning particularly, because then the body is fresh and the mind is fresh.
The gombi titla ane ngapoto gondani poto yashe imbatio the jongu no soyo ngashin jomar the jongu no soyo res.
Yeah, that's not what I'm saying. It's written clearly in the text that from among different times throughout the day, the best times, generally speaking, are morning and evening.
다 뒤지는 가서 다 아니 gombi tit라 다 되고 저런버지고 다 소소가 아니 gombi 거슬 유요 노트로 손노토 거서 똑반다 뭐다 지용레스.
Oftentimes when we engage in meditation, we will see that, there are a lot of thoughts coming up, right? A lot of.
Tatani namada chiu tacharesa mare nga gauta yaparesa mare solo motona pe no cheki muri resani te santra cheko yo mares.
Oh, you shouldn't think, oh my goodness, I can't meditate, because that only makes it only worse.
Kasi choro gamja yukas tandali tombo aina gamja yukas la chindamada mombo treke chi solo namada treke mena tanda gamaja itarela.
If, as a beginner meditator, you think that there are not many thoughts, then that's actually a sign that you're not meditating well.
Taking a lot Tombochi got so jeterlo menda, Madaganga traders, Selenda, Madaganga Shandre, Salongama Chichelato, Katon Chevato, Kalas, that's how my shut the rest. Look, Chichuchirindo.
Yes, as mentioned before, usually when we sit down and meditate, then all sorts of things come up in our minds. We think about, what we did last year or what we did yesterday, what we had for food, and this and that. All these thoughts come up.
Tatandi Mombo Seleshore, Jura Mubala Yapuchi negotiate with Tarela.
Oh.
Selenda, Mada Tedera, Gonda Jason, the days of Tonti, Selenda, Madayas Cheni, Kato, Toma, the Tredeuti, the teacher of some days don't show with Tarela. Sono tongu yobitares. Gamjong yobitarela.
Gom yapo.
Gom yapo tomara, gamjoji yobitares.
So when all these thoughts come up, it's actually a sign that at least you're trying to meditate, so that's good.
Tangazo garache gorezani, topanda madachina, the zopa, kagiake yomaris, tichirwa. Ina tagi susu, gamchaji yorwa, sakala goyona, lama goyona, Gage goyona, gargona, this and Majini, Yan de Decoris. Kotoya Tinayo, Taki Mupachita, Majini Ledina, Kali in the Shichiri Legores.
Kali,
the Tomoso Gomchata city.
Yes. So what's important to remember when we meditate and all these thoughts come up while we try to focus on, say, on the Buddha image or the the image of a spiritual teacher, is not to get disheartened or by all these thoughts and just leave them basically. What we should do is not forget the object of meditation, whatever rises in our minds on top of that. But it's good not to forget the object.
가르는 당연히 가서 지신바 비자도 먹고 심바 거 소지들의 비자도 레데레스 다 비자도 고고도 서를 때때 마요 심바지 용데레스 티 도초 용데레스 티 다기가 근데 먹어서 속하고 이거는 지금말에서 시바 토파나 말아 쭈디 니버도 가고하는 무식들 지도 리가 제거요 말레스 저도 소소 감차 가래 있는 때다 마지니 세보부터 소문 돼야 되는데 집에서 칼리 로미로시 그면
Yeah. So it's as mentioned earlier with the pizza, if you want to avoid thinking about pizza, it's anything. If you want to avoid thinking about pizza, it's what appears, if you want to meditate on pizza, anything else appears in our mind. So likewise, when we then say have Buddha image as our meditation object, and we try to focus on that, all these things appear. We shouldn't try to kind of get rid of them in some ways forcefully or whatever, but just let them arise, these thoughts. While not forgetting our actual meditation object, not forgetting the image of the Buddha, or the image of our spiritual teachers, and by doing so, not forgetting about our main object, then automatically it will be the case that all these thoughts slowly calm down.
하더니 가서 감져 있어서 다행히 동본이 제рем바 막어서야 되는 색깔이라나 언니 셔너여서 감져디. 강가 녀도 뜨문띠디 가서 정화시키지말라. 언니 셔너니 드니 소소 감져시요 소소진 쳐데. 이나오 언니 셔너니 시바강가 앞에 마서와도. 아니 젬바테면게 드니 창도여레스. 동본이 제рем바 감나.
And also what happens if we from the very beginning, when we start about practicing meditation, if we were to engage in very long sessions, then the danger is that we'll easily find sleepy and sluggish and dull.
디디 당아서 틀어 녀마샤위 털어지고요레스. 다 녀마샤위 거도 아니 제고레 맞어 감자티 대에서 퇴사야 다스속을 다 산진도시 그거나 대에서 퇴사야 요 소소제거나 생디안 토린도시리나 아니마요 제보요레스.
What we can do when we feel sleepy in our meditation, as an antidote, as it were, is to visualize the object, say, of the Buddha a little bit higher up, so that counteracts the sleepiness.
다용 던리지는잖아요. 생도 파 일런더니 무발라 야보테마도나 용게 거자 대스메 마사범니. 대스메 월마데스거나 센초로파 여러도 대스 가샤레스.
And if we, instead of feeling sleepy but feel very distracted, then it's good to lower the object of meditation. That counteracts this, getting distracted easily.
네, 다 간저이 그 소소 그 인치 mention 소소로 그 감들라 무바들 용도 소모도 염지지 제벌 용도 제거르마도 디 소소 그 감시 요산나요 세뇨목 그 혼도 손대요라 디 언니 그 혼도니 감타타마인 소소 감시 요 소소스나 타타마레케지 차요도 디 소소 그 감들 디스 감요 미 그 무바티 타타레 노레몬도 인치 메지 염지 제거요레스 그런 감들라
타치치그레
대서 소노톤 오가지 무바테 마제바 제거라 무바 젠더레스 소노테는 무바 젠더요레스 디 마제바 용도 무바살거 장지 제거요레스 디 장지 마제바이나 세 젠바지를 잘라샹더니 아니 몸부지 고마타 창더레스.
What is also very important to do while we meditate is to always keep on checking whether we stay focused on our meditation object or not, or whether we get distracted. So keep on checking whether we keep concentrated or not.
다다 가니 옆이노니 맞은 조거도 기거니 옆이노니 다다든 조거고 나자들이스. 디저서 조거 일만데니 야로니 디스리 겁절.
So among these two, there are two types of meditations, generally speaking. One is analytical meditation, right, where we analyze and think a lot. But what we have talked about here is the placement meditation, as it were, or single-pointed meditation, where we focus on one object. And Geshe-la is advising you, or us all, to try that out, practice that in the early morning hours after we wake up.
배낭한다스나 저기 지세셔도 체가니야 로니 아니 서트 동바트 딘디지니데 감겨요스 아니 저렇서 저기 지세셔도 체가 로마도나요 지생아빠 두바 디버로도 니바들 로니 가고요레스 성기고요라니.
So for example, I get up at 4:30 in the morning, then brush my teeth and wash my face, and then I meditate. And well, if you cannot get up that early, but you will be able to get up at 5 or 6, right? And then do some meditation.
아니 다자덤하게 시동 올르데 디코나 스타치테니 시동요라 존지실을 될 시동 올르데 아니 스타크데지테니 간jo요레스 라 드리지는 상지레스 나서 올르 덴트 디코는지 데야부자 졸록 디야부자 아니 콤바체보노데니 가jo네 디가초토라.
I mean, the Buddha himself, he used to sit on, like some kusha grass under a tree and meditate. We on the other hand, we have really good conditions. We sit on a comfortable bed or seat in a nice room, and so we have quite different conditions.
제 가서 돈보다기니 그래서 선지산도에서 소마 선지산도에서 다 선지산도에 배다된 로기라서 다 선지산도는 선지자된데 같은 나가서 드리지는 로고요래서
코나신.
코노지. 다 코노지 사자 드리노도 되고 말아. 다 데모고 갔다니 그 돈보서 등에들이 당가서 흘려지는 이상은 덴저 야본 거 되니 감정. 저도 semba 소노토나 드리요라. 어디지니 안 로고요래서.
But anyway, yeah, so as we all agreed, we want to achieve that state of, or go to the place of Buddhahood, as it were. So we have to kind of follow what the Buddha did. I mean, with better conditions, but we have to engage in practice.
당가서 때니 조거듯이. 다니 가서 니바텔라 계검체고요. 그래서 다 계검체는 가서 니콜라 니 다음에 비티 권한이 되죠. 이스.
So yeah, so that was these were some explanations on placement or single-pointed meditation, where we focus on a single object, and then the other type of meditation, as we said, is analytical meditation, and that's, for example, what we do when we study texts like this. That's a form of analytical meditation, and in the past classes we have talked about emptiness and selflessness. Studying these things, that's also a form of meditation, analytical meditation.
당가로서 소마 지바라다 신체 신의 지바로 소마가 지 뭐지나 아무야버지 제고 삼바지 요레스 봐 뭐디자스 뭐지 뭐야버지 제고 삼서지 소마를 요레 조sol에 바지 요레스.
All sentient beings usually have the notion that we want to be a good person, and all of you, I assume, you have that idea, to be a good person.
조sol에 아무야버지 제고 삼바 요라.
Do you think that you would like to be a good person or not?
요메 요레스. 당가서 소마 지바래 뭐시나 때 지바래 아무야버지 제고 상위지마도 남디자지 제상게도 다시 요마르다 요마라 지나마도 요마라.
I mean, we're all same in this regard. There's probably nobody who says, I want to be a bad person.
다들 가서 야부 제고래서. 다 야부지나 야부 가리진 제고도 따오디 가서 야부지나 새 야부 제고요래서. 새 야부 제바이나 매야부 창르래서. 새 야부 맞이나 매야부 창마래서. 니마지도 그 셈바 야부지 제월리까지나 디니마데 좀 매야부 차요래서. 다 니마지 그 셈바 디자신리까지나 디니마데 결혼 디자자서래서.
Yeah, so in order to be a good person, it all depends, or very much related to our minds. And so if we train our minds and think positively and so forth, then how in however state our minds are, that determines whether we are a good person or not. If our minds are in a bad, negative state, then we act in negative ways and become a bad person.
다들 가서 새 야부지도 새 야부 많이 받니요로. 드니가 제부터 시고요래서. 새 야부 많이 받 가래. 새 야부도 가래. 야부는 스스로게 이제 지지 냠슬레. 야부 많이 가도 바까. 매바서고로. 디디 새 야부도 새 야부 많이 받 제부시고요래서.
And we need to distinguish, and we need to be able to differentiate between, what does it mean, to have a good mind, or what is a good mind, what is a negative state of mind, or negative mind. And then we have to, try to diminish, get rid of, or let go of these negative states of mind and develop the positive ones.
땅 가서로 생 야부 마행게가 생 야부 매파 정해데 비샤탈 가서 그 생노를 비샤타 니여레스 라레 매야부 매파 야부 요바데 매파서 야부 마행바서 마젬바레 네키 소마의 징에게 힘들라 싸와탈 니여레스
Susurang?
소소랑게 jel라 다 매야부 남매야부 저 성시라 이나 매야부 저 마토아데 가르게제레스나 랑게 jel라 생 디자 니여레스 라 다티가 Rally yapamepazole, genle yapamepazole, samala nekeke sendela niyoris.
So negative state of mind or negative mind is that which basically harms oneself and others.
Tati ngaso karazena ranchinze to danzani de imba, right? Ngao se ngachinze ranchinze to danzani de ka ngaroso roma chiwa izore, rani mayapamepa izore, genle manakire, gemachiwa izore, gemaga izore, sama de sitini ngode chiwa shichi btrani, tiga ngaso nyota kanga de tikichimo yores.
Yes, one troublemaker, as it were, we talked about that in past classes, is this self-grasping attitude, which basically is, harming oneself and others.
Tatilo danza seatala, yon danza seatala ni yores, danza tela ni, danza seatala.
There are two forms of self-grasping.
Ta kansagi danza to, chuki danza se ni yores.
There's the self-grasping at phenomena, or grasping at the self of phenomena, and the grasping at the self of people, persons.
Chudo kansagi danza ni no ni tatringa chusolo mashivati, kans chuki danza mashiva is, chuki danza makagorwa, chuki danza mepazoto, otika ni shiva is.
Okay, so now I'm going to talk more about the the form of grasping at the self of phenomena and how to eliminate that one.
Ta chuki danza mepazore tandi jondino ni chusondino tata, dino lo pomba pil joni sheyores, pomba akora tsumaka.
There's on page 71, there's a mention of a vase used as an example to illustrate the self of phenomena.
Chiso pomba hakoe, pomba shi, pomba.
Yeah, you're all aware of what a vase is, right?
Hakoe, pomba hakoe.
Vase. Do you all know a vase?
Dino karla
Vase. Vase.
Vase. Vase. Hakoe kani chere.
What is a vase?
Pomba kani de chere. Pomba lana.
Where you put the flower in.
Deo mare. Pomba mido adrena. Ta pomba mena didra.
Di pompa marbe.
Di pomba kai. Pomba kan senye kare to de jerji chijo. Toko pa chimbiyo kore. Kutande.
This double jumbo.
Pomba ti pomba ina mina. Kini ta pomba ina to ni ndo pomba chandra ni chibara. Pomba honyo samara. Pomba ma kona tanga sonde chonsi tar pijashira.
Okay, but
Di jongonola dinola pomba la pijane sheyores.
yes.
Kana chosu soma pomba o makona di chonsi tembar tela pijane shegila.
Apparently, there's something different meant by exactly. Anyway, but as an alternative example, we can take a table as well.
Tandega tandati yarum chik songono pomba ta pijane jangdo. Ngaso chonsi la pijane jang chibata pijia jira mato tonda chibares.
It doesn't matter what we choose. I mean, here His Holiness speaks of the vase, but we can just likewise take the table.
Tanga sonde tane the chonsi the condition trudura. The chonsi the rich gomba truji travala and chichu kazen songo dos, Josotana, the chichu kazen songo dos,
Teacher.
trujil, tomoye travala.
Yeah. So now I'm looking at this table, for example. This. How many things need to come together for having a table? How does it come into
Chichu
existence?
kazen songo.
How many
How many
conditions?
chichu?
Causes and conditions need to be coming together to have a table.
Riga, kazen songo kargo tila.
I guess many. First we need some wood or other material. Then we need a carpenter that is preparing the wood. And then we have to put the pieces together. And then it's in a shop. And then we buy it. And then we put it here.
You have to cut the trees before.
Oh yeah, sure. And maybe we put some luck on the table that it looks nicer.
Shinga chosi la ita mata.
Yeah,
Chosi somana sikyo mana.
tambo sing tukure.
Ah, tombo shin gogudo ra.
Oh,
Tombo shin gogudo. Tinin zarga gogudo. Ra, zarga jogo. 아니 정에게
Hola,
실서
Sonam,
고다
Sonam, Sonam.
정말 고도 왔어 든지지 몸보질 때니 제네디 조시도 조서 왔어
Yeah. So I guess it was just confirming that. Yeah. So there are many things we need that need to come together for having this table here.
다티지나 대화이나 내노 소아노지지나 디니요레스 디니
Here the text mentions basically two main factors or main causes. Is it?
가르스나 녀레게 지치도 세지지되게 지치스 디니
Yeah. So the main factors, as it were, is the
저는 어떤 게 레그스
it's coming up in the text. It's the substantial cause, and then the cooperative conditions. It's on page 71 where it starts. So the substantial cause would be the wood, and then we have all these different cooperative conditions.
녀레게 지어서 당아서 아니 조시들 녀레게 지다 가르지나 조시 조치기 신데 동보 신지와 신든데 조시기 녀레게 지레스
Yeah, so the wood is the main cause or the substantial cause for the tree, for the table.
녀레게 지미 지세 가르지나 동보 시도도 지레디 조고 전에 그 신데 코로 조시 레노서 대버 창로서 어디 콜 녀레게 신도도디 녀레게 지사 그레스
Yeah, so this cause, wood itself, is the main material that forms the substantial cause.
다 근데 조시 정에게 요 시에서지고라 마바디고 시에서지고라 되게 다 해지지지레스
And then, the carpenter who's, working with the wood, that would be a cooperative condition.
장통기 도기다 정말 장통제 천통제니 사기거라 저를 집어지니서 나서 집어지는 사기거래 장통 천통들이 사기거라 너다
You need to, achieve Buddhahood, happily, drinking tea and whatnot.
근데 다래서 다 진이 열레던 레지지지 다그 레지지지 그 정에들 레지지지라래 아니 고로 신들 열레라래 근데 진이 제도 제 몸보질 뛰는 마도 근데 지 몸보지 메나 그 조시도 도통도 왔어
Yeah, so there are many causes and conditions that need to come together, or many causes and conditions that the table, as it were, depends on, such as the wood itself and then the carpenter and whatnot. Without which the table cannot come into existence.
단들이 그 조시의 지 제도 제 몸보질 때니야 아니 조시 지금 봐 주지 조도도 지 저쪽에 셰도 정의 그 강사당 스콜로 마테니 그 조시지 조샹도 같은 정도다. 뛰니 조샹도도 마테니 정도다 조시도.
Yeah, or can you imagine, what do you think? Does the table depend on all these, different causes and conditions that we mentioned just now, or does it exist independently of all these things?
아니 정도.
Yeah.
Obviously, the first one, because it cannot build itself.
그래서 저도 처음하거든.
So that's pretty clear. All of you know.
근데 조시등 가서 비자라. 나 조시리 디 조시리 디로 디 그바레 디 콤바 처음마디 뭐지그 저지 잘라 짐바지 처음마지를 때니 저바다 나도 처음하게 미근 통하고 하더라도 왔어.
I mean, we can apply this to all, everything around here, what we can see, right? The flower, the lamp, whatnot. Everything, comes about due to causes and conditions.
다 드니지는 몸보 솔로 도와이나 나도 처음에 펜세 찍기질 때니 연계지마도 찍기질 마테니 그 소소로 지tam게지 자니 뭐도 소소지 솔로 동고요레스.
Yeah, so we need to think that way, that nothing really exists independently, but depends on so many other things, right?
드니지는 솔로 돈이 펜세 때니 요바마도 때니 메바데 하고소나 펜세 마테니 메바다 마테니 요바드 메바 하고소나 아니 동반이는 거 차요레스. 하고자 동반이는 솔로도 디레스. 등하서 제거 주소 디트리지는 솔로 동반이나 감레스. 제금.
Yeah, so that's a form of analytical meditation. And once we understand that nothing exists independently, but depends on so many factors, that's, understanding emptiness.
단들이 때야들랑아서 덴데라바라 그래서 이제라 덴데라바.
That's a coarse form of interdependence, but there are many subtle forms as well.
당 알아서 맞질라 손로도이나 나세 손로도데 나세디 질 때니 줘요 받아 알아서 하고라. 소소 나 발라도 아마라를 때문에 기고바디 하거와래. 다마 기사디 아니 용 칼라도 몸보질을 때 거래지. 아니 파파파파파파파 진로 그랬어. 그래서 다 등산을 가를 때고도 따니. 소소요.
Dingsam, yeah.
때 저리 놓고 그래지. 동보 발라마를 때고도 따라바라. 쓰기 하거라. 되니 마마마우를 칼라도 소소그 라발을 때고 라박은 지미지나 펜스지 때고 배 타리 진로 그래지.
We can also think about ourselves, that, how we depend on so many things. Initially, we depended on our parents to come into existence. And then, once we were born, we depend on, food and clothes and whatnot. And so we can think along those lines as well, and also go more deeper and to more subtle levels.
당아 발라말을 기니 러치 니시레스 당가 발라말을 뜨고 말에 나라로 못해 서서지 가서 레이래 주소를 파지 레이지래다 당가 나로 고치스 나로 리카치 토이스 발라말을 뜨고 말에 서서 선바트 레이라
Probably the thought arises that, now that we have grown up, we are not depending on our parents anymore. We are independent. We can,
One short. I think you turned off the camera. So people in Zoom complaints they cannot see Geshe-la.
Oh,
가서샤
right.
Okay, continue.
Okay.
단답에 가네 같지 아니 당가서 때려 tel레지는 가서 텐데 지치 텐데제 시오레스 지치 텐데 시발레 텐데 가서 가르케르나 지마 지와치마도 나라서 밀리티아가 아니 켜보요레스 밀리르 무지다
Because Gyukyan
지치게 텐데 시소나 야보 시소나 아니 몬도 함이 고보다 하도 뭐 기발레발로 도요레스
once we understand, the causes and conditions, how things come about, that will be beneficial for us to, in the future, get a good rebirth in one of the higher states of existence. What would you prefer? To rather be born as a god in a celestial realm, or would you rather be born as a human? What would you like? What would you prefer? Being a god or a human?
I want to be a humpback whale.
What would you want to be in your next life?
They say in the God realm is not enough suffering to practice, so you have a lot of happiness and so far and so on, but you're just spending it on enjoying it, and then you're coming back to a level where you don't know, so it's better to be in a human realm where you have enough suffering to actually practicing the Dharma.
Konsigurusena namshinamula ra konsigurusena ngasu layula kiwaina dene so deonyongiro di kapsu papa dul yusamare and dila teninga la detula nyamnen chigi samare dene tamada masagi sare dene shitsang yaga kase mila kiwalena yaga yusare kanse dila tene kase miingen dume mango yore and dila tene nyamne mango yongsi
따로 고소다로 할 나서 할 기존으로 아니 하도 저도 시딜지나 하도 많이 논에 하도 좀 요래서 또 지지들
Yeah, so I mean, in terms of their happiness, it's the case that godly beings, they have more happiness.
아, 이와 몸보다 가서 상기사도 전리 솔로도나 못 약셔리로 그래서. 상기살란도라. 아니 또 정식이 생도 지 동반이 성도도사도 감자사데 약셔때 밀리데 있음레스.
But the human birth is indeed better to achieve Buddhahood eventually, to meditate and contemplate on bodhicitta and emptiness. So for that, a human birth is much better.
이게 가서 매일 이게 나와라. 다 오늘 전에 그 단지 텐데게 나오자. 이게 텐데게 나오자때 야부지 시토아이나 텔라테니 마치알레 지게 저 사토르레스.
By contemplating this interdependence, and reflecting on emptiness, that will kasa kiwa yapo lena pengere. That will help us to gain a rebirth as a human being.
다 텐데 제야도 맞아 텐데들라 지체 텐데도 텐데답이 텐데니다 지체 텐데도 시오레라 제동 지오제도 나오자 시오레스 근데 리동 지오제 린디가 나오자도 야부 시오레스 아니 린디가 나오자도 야부시나 소소 매야 야부지 차토하다 아니 기와튼 신달로 야부 차토하다 지치마리고 소소 아니 매시기야 야부지레도 하고 저부시면 요레스.
So there are different forms of interdependence. One has to do with causes and effects, and one and then with karma causes and effects. And so by knowing about karma and the working of karma causes and the results, we can practice accordingly, which will help us in this life and also in the future to get a good rebirth.
Jadi ngaso lindi nauja meshiwa te karzna lindi lomo pe meshipa jure lindi meshipi ngaso gela lidon drivo za nauja meshipa jure ti kagala tende ga nauja apishina lindi lomo pe meshipa jure to lindi lomo pe mari bala oti kashares ti lindi lomo pe meshipa me barena ni lindi apishina
lindi
ngaso tende jiche ki tende apishina ani lindi ngaso karzna lindi lomo pe meshipa jure lindi lomo pe mari pa ti kona nya lomo pe mari pa jure ta li jinji ga nauja meshipa jure ti meshipa to tende ga nauja jiche tende nauja apishina li jinji lomo pe ka meshipa me ba so shato ini li jinji lomo pe meshipa me ba so na li jinji te apuchi shinge ji changdo wes ini li jinji apuchi so na li jinji apu songra.
By understanding, causes and conditions, causes and results, we'll understand karma, the working of karma much better, karma and their results, and thereby overcome the ignorance that does not understand the working of karma. Do you accept the working of karma, that actions lead to certain results? Karma and effects, karma and results. Do you accept that?
Lindi kilegre. Litala sonira. Suma lindi kilegre.
Li sumyure.
Ni chaka suma kilegre.
Yeah, do you accept the working of karma?
Kanishini kilegre da.
How do you,
Li dio do se li zet dio zet kanishini kilegre. Yore esa mu yishashare de.
Kan det
Kanishini yore la.
What do you think? What is that all about? Let's say, what is it about karma and effects or karma actions and the results? How would you explain that? How does it work?
Kanishini yore. Li yore dio yore la dera.
Are there actions? Is there karma, and are there certain results out of the actions that we perform?
Oh, yena mena sa topa sa imudela.
Or don't you have doubts sometimes?
Shin sa imudela.
Do you never have any doubts about karma?
Topa sa gores. Mare liton revo yore yome songo matoa ina yoshashachi nite ishashare sa dena mote se chawshela rese.
If you just take it for granted, or anybody takes it for granted, yes, there's karma and there are results, but don't think about it any further, what it really means, it kind of is a form of blind faith.
Kasi majemba chike yor mare tilindi yor mare dindi yor mare za yapu chishejana o yesa mare za njondra. When we
have just blind faith, then this is not based on reasoning. And then if someone were to come along later on saying, "Oh well, there's speak very nicely and kind of sounding convincing, saying there is actually no karma and results coming out of that," then one having just blind faith, not based on reason, then one would easily adopt the wrong view, saying that there is no karma and results.
Da liken rewa te ngoni tanichi li ndrichi sana rewa ndrichi yongdo sa zozo ka jemse to dembaji sono to thona ani yichi yabaji ngira tene te ngoni tani lindi se ya yabaji do yi chena ma sun rewa ndo nele chena yabu mindo sa ka lindi na ja yabu shisona ani sozo ma yabu cha sozo diki yonga ta ma jele na yu chi no ma kiwa otendi ka pedo chambale res.
It's very beneficial to really think through, the working of karma and really being, applying reasoning and being convinced, gaining conviction that, karma really works. And so if we, think through it and, have our reasons, then we'll act accordingly. And, we'll try to do our best in terms of acting in positive ways and avoiding negative actions, harming others and so forth, and thereby achieve happiness.
서로.
I think it's one thing to understand karma working in this life. Like, if I smile to someone, they usually smile back. So there's an action and a reaction. But I think it's sometimes harder to see past life's karma because we cannot remember it directly. And what we are taught in the West, what like Buddhism says comes from karma, we say is the influence of our parents, of our school. So all the conditioning, all the habits we have in the West is explained that this is like trauma from our families, from our society, while Buddhism says this is karma from previous lives. So it's harder to like see it.
Considerusena Tsering namna le de kelena dislela wa yore pe shashana ko mi shemba la zum tangiduna mi shemba namni nang sin susurang la yang zum tangiro le dang de boran da boda yore sigido ina yang kiwanga ma ki le di kelena da dis kalika bo yore na Tsering namna la de nyamna damenda yoro nang che thola sebaina ni le wang ki ro ina yang nukcho ki ngasilong pala Ngatu loptala duri kapsu pesha konsu ngatu gegen ngatu karela pizusena susu pama la tene ngatu nyamyon damenda yore susu koyu la tene nyamyon damenda yore shetsandi nangpe ki tawa da mukjo ki tawa des keware shetsang
여보, 빼요. 그건 리 yapışı
there
가서 다가로 그래서 릴랑 가서 니 넘버 3제 비정은 릴라 넘버 3소 요래서 또.
나빠서
통준용제 진리, 진인용제 진리, 리토제라 용제 진리, 리 3소 요래서 근데 공고세와테 통준용제 진리더라. 어디 선데 요래서.
So according to the scriptures, it says that there are three forms of karma. So one form of karma is that what we really can see, and that's what you mentioned, Rika. But then there are two other forms of karma that doesn't ripen immediately, but later in this life, which you can't see immediately. Or then there's the third form of karma, which ripens in any next rebirth or any birth after that.
당아서 저도 리세나 자와레스 등이란다. 자와 리세도 리까지 자와지레스.
Karma, it's the Sanskrit word, or li in Tibetan, which can also be translated as action.
자와세나 가르라오르라나 가서 리까지 제바이나 빼나가서 이기지 들어바이나 이기 중에 강사지도 그나 저자 이기지도 이기 들어와지라 들리까지라 디상고는 이기 들 자와들라 아니 샤요레스 자와들라 용 제바폴라 용기지도 제비 열라 용기지 니잖니 제바폴 용기가 이기 중에 코로라 요비 자와지라 어떤 리라고 요레스 이기 들라 이기 중에 이기 들이 자와지라 이기 들이 자와도 날라스요레마도 아주 이기 공 파요 말아 되게 이기 들이 자와티 아니 리레스.
So when I write a letter, for example, or write something down, it's me, the person acting, doing the action. That's considered or said to be karma.
비약시지 피자 사실 피자 사기로 와. 피자도 자위열. 나 제바포. 자지와 이 자와리. 딜리. 피자 사.
Okay. So now again, coming back to the pizza example. So we have a piece of pizza, then me, the person, and then the action of eating, the jawa, the eating of the pizza. That's karma or action.
다텔은 제원이 레그레스 피자사의 자와들라 빙어치도 비와치니 레그레스.
Tumulan dewanika. Pizza.
고사 찔르니까 말아. 이나 피자 자와이나 빙어니 제원이 요레스 리크 제워테 카테카테 테이와. 빙어치레레 디와치레레스.
So then, there might be, from eating a piece of pizza, there might be two different results, either happiness or suffering. 대화형이나 동을 용요라.
연어 등은요. 조금 자니 칼라사부터 아니라 연조 피자 자치도 등어로 가니.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so if say for example one were already full, that one person had already had a big meal and then eating even more on top of that, that would be a form of suffering, right?
toko ja dire tanda cho zaro chi zina ko zana kar dinga chi res.
Yeah.
Di kar pizza zawi li kar zina dinga chi bi li chi sares.
Yeah, so then in that case, eating pizza would be form of karma that's connected with suffering.
Ta toko to ni pe de orela pizza zachina ko toko jan diwa chiro. Chesa ta pizza zawi chawa chi le teni, chawi li chi le teni riwo dinga chi ni le gdwase.
And then on the other hand, if we are really hungry and eating pizza, then that's a form of happiness. So in that sense, one action can have two results, either happiness or suffering.
Ta naso pizza za ga chawa tla ani zawi chawa tla li chi. Tikin jiwa tla ta toko to yong chi le pizza zachina diwa chi chi so ro. Toko jal yong pe zamato de de yongjo zachina ko kangaro dinga chi chi so wase. Ti li tong jiwa se di jese.
Yeah, so that's how we can understand karma and the results. Eating a piece of pizza when we are already full, leading to suffering, or being very hungry and then eating some pizza, then being a form of happiness. So these two types of results can come about.
Tati no jere, soso ke chawa yapuchi cheba ina, li yapuchi sa sharesi. Soso ke chawa dikchachi chejana, li dikchachi sa sharesi. Chawa dikchachi tunga. Li dikchachi pena soche ke likachi cheba ina, li dikchachi sa sare. Karzan chawa soche dikchachi chesara. Oti li dikchachi resaresi.
Yeah, so generally speaking, there are two types of actions, either positive or negative. If you harm someone or even engage in killing, obviously that's a negative form of karma, right? And then also some positive actions.
Majela rorok cheba ton, chi samba zombo chi keni chi likachi cheba ina, chawa zombo chi chesara. Chawa zombo chi chesati, li yapuchi sa sare.
And then on the other hand, if you help others, being kind to others, that's then, accumulating positive karma.
Li yapuchi sawa ina, ji yapuchi trusati, jivati, yapuchi wa tache saresi. Li dikchachi trusati, ji dikchachi trusati. Jumero ma saresi. Ji dikchachi trusati, jiva dikchachi trusati, ko chuni resaresi. Tache saresi.
Yeah, so that's reality. That basically that when we accumulate positive thoughts, positive actions, we'll experience a positive result, and then if we engage in negative actions, we'll have a negative result.
I think the issue is that often it's not so clear if something is positive or negative. Like, for example, I help you, but while I help you, I might harm him at the same time. So what is he saying about that?
Samsam lika yapo yang duchagina di sepo shiramundu samsam da kanidu peshashana ko da gala ropa chibe shindu or chibe kapsu ko la nugre di kapsu. Dene shek lika chikra gala ropa chigido ine kong dunyamdo chise nugre. Dene lika di chikra yapore duchare lakakuru.
Kana ngakyola ropa chini kola nyondo sira.
Lika chikla tene.
Ngakyola ropa chini kola nyondo na, tanga ka lika ta yapare pichare la. Tati choroko sambala rali lelo.
That depends on your motivation or on your thoughts.
Ko pasota le no sambi sambata merwa. Tela ropa chi, pasota le no pamachi, ni samni kola ropa chi shelo kola no sona, ko li pichasa yo maresi.
If you help me in that, in your example, with a good intention, without wanting to harm him, then there's no negativity created.
다 파쇼틀로 너나노 가리오레스. 내가 콜로로파 야부지 치트는. 콜로 너나노 가리오레스. 개요만에 딩알란 드라이오마레사. 든디살로도 사데. 리오피오마레 콜로로파 제와티 semba 가르세는 비짱을 베세레스. 이 콜로로파 제와티 콜리리 야부사요레나나 요마레스.
Kasel kongisam sui karere.
거기 상어라. 파쇼틀로 너나 개요마레. 너나 지제요마레스. 나 콜로로파 제이스. 콜로 야부지 치트는 콜로 너나노 세야가 송올레사티. But
if you say, if you think, if you have that thought in your mind, well, whatever happens, if I harm him, then so be it. By helping me, then there's negativity created. If you have that idea, but that you will help, you will harm him in some ways.
But like in a situation, simple example, you both want the same job. And I'm your friend, so I help you with your application to have a nice application, so you will more likely get the job. I know in the situation, like I think about helping you, but I know that the other person that wants the same job will not get the job and will obviously be unhappy, but I don't have the intention to harm him, but I know that he will be harmed. You know what I mean?
Or will be in an unfortunate situation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Patient by lapsong. Casey ra konda ngarang nika leka chiko guyena. Ani leka raya kichiru kung ngala ropa chigeres. Kung nupa chia tamginindo. Yena yang kung ngala ropa chipala tene. Nga chicha leka dis Lelawa ra sigere. Kung leka chicha lelawa ragyo mare dila tene chichina dunga nyong sigere. Di netu di nangnola. Leka di
Marani.
Ani kongki le yapore duchare.
그래서 그 상황을 제보요래서 거기 가야 봐라 저런 sombo som보치니 봐줬다다 그니 니여라 단들이지는 많이 나 콜로로바체나 콜리카도 션도요라 또 콜로로바체나 콜로로바체나 콜리카도 션도이나 콜로노로라 이나 콜로 sambo som보고니 다 콜로 만노에 다시 몸보체 제 마토나 콜로 sambo som보치니 콜로 나포 마저라 sambo 냠바 마저니 콜로로바체나 티 리데요래서 드리지 마토 가서 거라빠서 영화요 말했어 니가를 페토제스 영화요 말아 다 콜로 sambo 나포페 sambo 데니 나포치니 콜로로바체나 콜로로바체야테요 야페요 말했어 이나 콜로노나요 다 소소고니 소모 콜로노타 카닐리사티 콜로셜노나요 디 자레라오 말했어
I mean, it's often times in samsara, it's it's oftentimes not possible to avoid tricky situations like that. But as Geshe-la mentioned before, it really very much depends on your motivation. If you help me in that example, even though that he might not, get the job, but I have more advantages as it were. But you're doing it with a kind heart to help me, then even though he might not get the job, but you have no evil intention or negative intention. But if you're kind of, aware or kind of have that in the back of my mind, it doesn't matter, or even want to harm him, then you can help me as much as you want. It doesn't become positive. It all depends on your way of thinking.
내가 때라 성지가 롱고노고 로지스 시야게 저서 거기 가자 거기 막하는 것이 거기 가는 자
The Sakeki Lugitora. So that's are you very tired? Otherwise, the time is up, but Geshe-la has a story to share. But if you're tired, depends on you.
거기 가서 만난 것이 비즈니스도 야말로 그거 좋았던 적이 아니 거기 가나 아니 다시
It depends on you. If you're tired, we can also stop here.
자 레베
What does it
go
mean?
go 레베
Mutune.
go
Mare mutune sorona.
문터디 go
Mare gogo mare sorona.
아
Tell,
정말
tell.
시라다 내가 그리여래서 나가마가마가마로 아니 여버스 잔소 타이 잔소 파로라 이 너버로 뭐지 근데 서도 뭐 내가도요서라 저지도니 근데 이제 여버지가 렘보 망아자 땅이여래서
이게 봐.
망아자 도모듯이
이게 부디 탕송.
여버디가 땅으로서 렘보 망아자 나 타이 잔소고 파로라다 저지 전부 논론이 근데 그런 뭐지 근데 렌팅게 근데 너요서라 잔소 파로 근데 이제 망아자 땅이여래서
Okay, so there's a story of a king who sent out 500 of his ministers with a big boat or big ship onto a jewel island.
다 고정 아지아도 파한도는 거기를 다 나버는 것이다. 산동도 저를 가리는 소마케니 initial lawyeres 다 논레그로 논용예res.
And so they eventually arrived to that island, onto that island, and took with them all the jewels and the gold and whatnot, all the precious things, and came back.
다티 망아자노네 못디자 페나가도 못디자지요 있어라 못디자지.
And then among these 500 ministers, there was one bad person, someone like me.
다티 못디자도 소노 가르토르 논라슬레지 데레 다데 마시자 그치 고그도 세샤와이나 세 메바즈 세라고자.
미투세디.
뭐그 지자다 지자 그치 고그요라 코르스비 가자라 다 지자 그치 고그도 메세샤와이나
And so that bad person was thinking, oh, if I kill all these other 499 people, then all the, the jewels and the gold and whatnot will all be mine. Well, this in Tibetan had a funny name, but it kind of meant someone tall and dark.
Tibetan means
In Tibetan.
Sanskrit that dig carried the Manandu said, Damajaka Satorambuchi Kangaro Tausoni. Kusiak, Majaka to Siak, Kuduchiris, Toshichiris.
So I had that evil intention, bad intention to kill all these other 499 to get all the, jewels and, for himself. So he was preparing to do that.
That in all of my approach, you said, I think Hako, Michigan. Tako Manandoga, Majaka Siak, Toshichi,
and then there was also among these people, there was one very good person, probably Bodhisattva. He was aware that this bad person was intending to kill these others. So this good person was probably like someone like Anila, and the bad person was someone like Geshe-la. And we are kind of like symbolizing all the other people.
ni karzena ngamana dondo resara ngamaji jaguchi ko gede seche ba ko ani ga ko sara ani ga ta somo ka kherela o ta ko mana dondo ko samaji jaguchi ko gede seche na ta ko ko dipa chimbi sa shang dus ta maji jaguchi ko so shon dus ti ya buchi mando san ta ti ko mana dondo to me ba za toji che ko de san ani ko tani chi gres. And
so this good person was like Anila, that person was thinking, but if, this bad person was going to kill all these, the other 499 people, they would all lose their life. And that one, he would, create so much negativities so that this good person was kind of thinking to eliminate this bad one. And eventually that person, the good one killed the bad one.
Manandondo sejara colonera. Tamajia ni jidata, Gojira, Gojital Petira. That co personal sympathy sape, Giachimasa.
Although of course because this bad person was killed, by there was some negativity created in the sense, but the good one saved 498 lives and thereby create so much more positive merit.
Manandondo senge take lika bichachi chendo to lika yabuchi chendo. Manandondo senge jira, senge dik. Ko lika yabuchi chendo to ko manandondo sevate lika jawa yabuchi rendo to jawa bichachi rendo.
Okay, now we can debate. Was that negative action? Killing the bad person was intending to kill 499 people, or was it rather positive action?
Was
it, good or bad?
I think in reality, like if you're not Bodhisattva, I don't know the intention of the person. So let's say we are in a war right now, and there's someone we assume he would kill the people, but we never know, and that's a bit sketchy.
But he was asking about this particular example in that story. Was that good?
I think he still creates a negative karma for killing, but then he also creates a positive karma of saving 498 people that is outweighing the negative karma. And on a scale, it's easy to see.
Yeah. Lika midukcha se baro. Dia lika migivele. This savios arena yang mishiga kasa gupchu ge dila tene give up shuchimbo.
Just a gear chamasaurus. Chilla no yoreti. Manandola no yoreti. Pajotola peadica. So Gisa Chamachanders, Lee of Chanders. Then a Corozano, Chilla no Chilla Peso Nail, Chilla Yaba Peato Toina, Samba Napa Machini. Samba Napa Machivaina, Likayaba Chanders. Taki Manando sing it again, Manando Nuji Tiris. Garajina, Kumaja Jagachico Sejana, could do Pachamachi Sashara. pe dupa chimbu chi sa jare de shasa ta ko dupa chimbu sa do sa nyoji chi chi ta ma je ja ani ja che ani ge ko ge de ko so de ko tao jare de so ni ga la de ni ko so no bu so chimbu sa yo re zin da di sang ni ge so do go yo isara da je jar ma chi ti so do
Yeah, so Sangi Kido Nanglo Layo.
de jar ma chi ti mo bu so do
Yeah, so Holiness often mentioned this story, which is mentioned in the sutras. And it's like coming back to the example we mentioned earlier. This good person had no evil intention. He wanted to save, the lives of so many of these 498 people, and also, in a sense, preventing that bad person of creating this heavy negative karma. So he had no evil intention, but only positive motivation. So in that sense, he created a lot of powerful positive karma, more negative.
ni che so la twan da yo na chimbu no da twan me na ti chen ni do
Do you have any questions?
your question ani
Otherwise, we can stop here too.
I have another question relating karma, like if we have like severe tooth pain, and so we are really like experience pain. So what would the cause of that be?
Ganze Pechchen so, sometimes Shimonagirua. Das ist so. Die Legium die Kollakische Shibaina, die Gyun Karare. Das ist so, Shimonagi Navikapsu.
so shibu na ko je kare la ra kero kala za di so le kyo do yo ra di kyo to ge re se ti na ge tere
Kanadi.
kyo kala za ko so tombo ko lo kyo so le ji kare ina jing thola ji tong se ra o ti ge re se ge ti re se
He says that probably comes due to, when you eat food, that their food remains and then it creates these whatever bacteria, you can say that. But
kala ya ba ma ni kala ya ba ma so ya ba ma ti
you don't eat food properly and don't clean your teeth properly. That's the cause, that's the reason.
da so ya ba ma kala ya ba ma za da kyo li ya ba ma sa re ra li ya ba sa so so ma je tombo ni pa ngongo je chote ya ba je gu ra
Yeah.
ti jin li ya ba sa re ti di kyo na za da to ma re ti di kyo tombo ni so ya ba ma kala so zam yang jang ji ya ba ma ji ni ani li ya ba ma sa le ti ndi ke shi ji yo li ka ya ba ma ji jawa ji ti jawa ti ke jivatal kyo ro ding so na ding ji mo re
by having, maybe not the proper ways to eat food, I don't know, and not cleaning teeth properly, thereby you create negative, bad karma, as it were, and have to then eventually suffer the consequences.
how many drink coffee in the night
The young nigger.
mare ngombo to tani shikchab san so no ra
I don't know.
titi tare so ta li se ta ko sa ko so na ndi ko tra ya bu so na wi nga so dinga ji ra so na wi so dinga ta tombo ni nga ro so ya pa ma tre di le jang ji ya pa ma ji ya ni men zi ji le ra ti tombo ni li ya pa ma sa ta ko sa tombo ni ko ro member ya pa te ni ya pa ji so ya pa tre la so ya pa te na li ya pa ji sa li ya pa sa ti njo so na wi dinga de wa kro li apuchi masawi sosok lika apuchi machini ani dio dinga chungres ti dinga so li se ta jawal gogores so ti res ko top yo
It's a very good question, but I mean, it's pretty obvious. But yeah, he says then, by eating properly or clean teeth properly, going to see a doctor and this and that, you create good karma, and then you have the respective positive result, and then
pe na ngala la pan de de da de ni do ti yo ti tombo lo kam jo
Come.
jo na
Oh, cup.
kam jo ro ko jo ni ani ya pa zo to yo mara ma so ya pa ma chi chen ro ti ji na za ta ti de nga tombo kam jo sa le ni li ya pa chi ma chi de ya pa chi ma chi so ma ya pa ma zo bu chin ju de jami ge jo ro ani ya pa ma chi ti nga li ya pa chi ma sa ni de ri cha
Oh.
but the thing is, you have to come just to the mark. So my opposite region, the China Mara. They need to dig out the John Mara. But they lead Suzuka Java Yapachimachini, lead the Jasasha, lead Lilo Manzivachi Lego, going to Linda.
Or like another example, on my arm, there's this kind of like a scar. It was, I mean, it came about due to like just an injection and I didn't keep it properly clean, and then I guess it got infected, and thereby I created, as it were, negative cause and conditions, negative karma, and then I had to suffer from it, having this ugly scar on my arm. Other questions? 디와이베 진짜.
복장 소멸을 위해서 우리가 참여 기도를 하는데 그 방법이 여러 가지가 있어요. 사경을 하거나 기도를 하거나 그런 여러 가지 방법이 있는데 그 방법에 따라서 법적이 소멸되면 정도가 다르지만 아니면 자기한테 맞는 어떠한 그런 특별한
Korean, German interpreted.
Anila asked, for eliminating bad karmas, there are lots of methods we can choose for praying or other things, and there are different, and each method are different in eliminating karmas. Maybe some method is maybe reduce only little part of karma, and the other method could be very big. Bad karma could be eliminated by that, and she's curious about their various methods is 자기한테 맞는 건지. In that lots of methods, is there anything suit for somebody else or not?
Is there something suitable?
Yes, it is. Each man have.
Oh, okay. For one individual.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is it different for different people?
The conseguiram sana natsu dikpa migiwe daya kichiru tap mindawa yorwa. Ane tap kashila tene migiwe le estes dak dugere tap sembala tene migiwe le mambo dak dugere. Ane shitsang ine ngatsu mi mindawa yorwa. Ane susurangla tap yakshu kari kandes dam chogare tukyore.
So wrong condition don't worry lara.
Yeah, so migevele yakpo kitapo mepaza kichiro. As a mimentawa yoro.
Really.
So randa kandista.
Tati ngate shekare. Ani kita sanji kerwa. Ani thano napa kade natsom do somba zile. Sanji ke chusoti kanza kola kondo tila titela do. Kola karape de tani tega sonyor. Kola karape de tani sonyor. Sanji ke tani sonyor. ina ngalati josul kar pheme hakoi mara ti nga sota se thoyu mares ina ta soso go so ta kar resna ani mombu chu mombu lo pija mombu lo mombu nyeti ni soso go lo ndi ngoni thone yapundu soso phegudi ti nyale chena ti ke pheres zanga kyol kar ke pheyo ngiti hakko to mares sanjina tagaro songyur sanji ge chunda mara songyur 가실 konza da yo paso 가실 내 paso 가실 파도 만 세자리 songyur the cook than Sanjika Hakoyures.
Yeah, it's a bit difficult to answer for him. I mean, the Buddha himself, he gave specific, methods to purify negative actions, specifically for the individuals. But because he had that insight. But Geshe says, I don't have that insight, so I can't really say what method would be best for you. But what you can do is refer to the scriptures and read about these different methods. And if you yourself feel like, oh, this is really a method that would work well for me, with which I can purify a lot of bad karma, then you can choose that one. But other than that, it's hard for them, for Geshe-la, hard for him to specifically say, this method would be best for you.
Tanda soka ni ta teba chimbo jongo no shenana ta janji sen gamba ani dame bi tawa gamba te bi pa tache ke ta yakshet yona me pa dire song yures
janji sen dame
janji ki sen do dame to shiro gamba te to ta jinga so jinji ki tende no jang mo so no to ne gamba jira te to ta ni jen le pemba so bi ka ani janji ki sen ni bote ta du pa tache te ni ka ta thores te ni le te ni bi pa ka mo to yona yaksheta tini songyo desu. Ina ta ti jala kashi doja shikchimbola mudeba gongo ato, kunjo shikchimbola jamba gongo ato, ngaja shikchimbola kapji royo gongo ato. Tandi chi riri ne mungu songyo desu. that social tagore, social numo kara shichiba take a catela nimboji gog from your
It is said that, from the Mahayana perspective, is the best methods we can choose are basically bodhicitta, or meditating, practicing bodhicitta and meditating on emptiness. These are the methods, which purify very strongly, negative actions. And then, other than that, we have to see for ourselves what, for example, also what our strongest afflictions are, and then apply the respective antidotes. Say, if you are an angry person, we can meditate more on loving kindness. If we are very much attached, then we can meditate on ugly aspects of the object of
How
attachment.
about the method? There could be method meditation, but maybe somebody else could be eliminate that karma by action or something, donation or something. It could be different for people.
Ni kasi yang da gom gyabya yaga yore kasi chupnik seki kasa shede pyo ki chidu susu migiwe da tokyore chisen tap mindawa yamena gom gyab yamena likache yamena kare dam tap da
Yona likache, jimbatong,
jimbatang ya diranda
yona gomjao,
ya di
that's just chasu goyores, Dibatawala, Suzokoma, Sonotoni Gamjao, Ania Nyoja Gamia Loni, Omalaropachi, Yini, Jimbaton, Stopson, the chasu to goyores, Stopson, as a Jim Pachitira, Jimbaton, Stopson, Zobakamba, Ani Samte, Ani Shira, Trira, the Sujeso Pachitita, Gibatai Tata, so the Swanti Tata, that's on the chapter to treat the song is. The editor, Suzokayam. Tutila Gamja, Tani, Kilong gets to Damba, Dambatsu Yapuson, Ani, Kushi Zoba Gam, Ani, that Damepiti Konanil, Jeta Jingazo Tende Koninoji, Ani Tinzel Teorella, the Jingazo Tombo Gamchi Shimba, the region in Imagine, the Chason, the Toina, Redu, Chiniandro Toina, Ani Pipa, Tandomi.
those are yeah patching to
Oh, particularly Nyolet Jacushures, the Jembatan, Jobolo Roger, the Jembarari. The needs of Zoga Garajin Strom song, that's a Tonya, that's a tom, the Dombayus and the Dambasong, Dambamena, Mugichipon, the Song, the need control nimble, Zobagam, the need the something Gamjo, and Shirolata, Damipito, Motapa, Zola Jebachi, the Nijina Project Treaty level. Project Treaty Conitala Sudija Jevaina. Monitoring the Pata Toyashi, Dino Manta Pega Pata to Pachiyoma. This is Sanji Jodi Project Sonjalo.
I mean, basically, what Geshe-la says, we need all of that. We all need to meditate. We all need to go out and practice generosity, make offerings and whatnot. And then, also Geshe-la says the Buddha has clearly explained about these so-called 6 perfections, right? Of which the first one is practicing generosity. That's where we can go out and practice generosity, giving donations, whatnot, to others. And then, we practice ethical discipline either by taking certain vows or otherwise refraining from these 10 non-virtuous actions and practicing the 10 virtuous actions. And then next we have patience, as an antidote to anger, we can practice and develop patience. Then we have effort, and then concentration, and then wisdom, where we contemplate emptiness and the interdependence of phenomena and things. So basically, but also Buddha has said that, it's all in there in these 6 perfections, and we can purify so much and create so much merit by practicing these 6 perfections.
Tako ani reno, ani ite Jembaton is Nuna Rishi, Jembakaso. Ani Rod the Yona, Ponja Yobaton, the Nichio, money to Tame Pomina, Mato, Robson, the Jembaston, Jembat Mochia, Jambal. Ani, that's a Johnson go at the Maso, Mugichapon with Jamari, Titanitz. Nico and Robert Johnson, the Ranchibutamba, the song with the Jarwa. This Jagatinita, joking on Gam, the Gamja, the Dichevaina, and the Malaropa Iche, Donija, the Dichevaina, joking at the San.
So I guess this is also, as far as ordained, it's fine not to give, extensively, because, it's always saying, it's that, if you have something to give away, in forms of donations, that's fine, but generally speaking, maybe ordained ones might not have that much, and then it's fine not to give so much. And then in terms of ethical discipline, obviously we Anila holds the vows of a nun, and then Geshe-la says practicing accordingly, and then meditating in the mornings and in the evenings, and thereby we will quickly achieve enlightenment.
Remember? Finish.
Saso.
Ah,